So I'm going to be really sad to see this lens go. So I've got a 100mm Canon macro lens, and the reason why it's going is because it's actually been given to me on loan, and I'm really sad to be returning it because I've come to use it a great deal in my photography, and also it's been a gateway to a more intimate landscape within my garden. So my plan today is to use it to its full potential, and then also show you guys how you can make dreamy, intimate landscape images from your back garden. A couple of techniques, looking at an artistic approach, and also just exploring what's on hand under your nose, in your doorstep, looking under the rocks, looking at the bugs, looking at the spring that's coming through. So without further ado, let's go hunting for some intimate landscape macro compositions in my back garden.
Fragile space in a single sail, white rocky island, you and I on the trail, just us and the waves, no need to behave in the harbor of
So I'm photographing these early dog violets. Really beautiful, really vibrant colours that are coming through. So the early dog violet has some distinctive soft purple violet petals with a yellow centre, and they usually pop up just before the bluebells. They're known for not having any scent, which is why they're called the early dog violet, because dogs are sensitive to scent, so that's where that reference comes from. And they're really beautiful to capture, and I wanted to talk about how to frame these flowers, adding a composition which is artistic, which is dreamy, framed well. So how do we approach a narrative? It can be really challenging to add a narrative to an image. What does that even mean? Lots of people talk about it, but adding a narrative is basically looking at your subject and the relationships within your subject. And that can be relationships of, number of things. It could be the relationships of textures. It could be relationships of the plant or your subject. It could be, whether you're photographing animals, wildlife, looking at how they interact together. And then next, framing. So framing these beautiful flowers, I'm looking at using the other flowers as added components to my composition where it's slightly out of focus, and then that gives it that dreamy feel, honing in on one of the flowers with everything else out of focus also just helps frame your image. So let me know what you think of these on the screen, and I'll put that on shortly. But what I'm going to look at next is, the intimate garden, what is here on your doorstep. And I've been discovering, what's underneath my nose, right outside, easy access. And me and my son have been looking around the garden, looking for bugs, looking for flowers. And the delight and excitement on his face when we find a ladybird or a bug or something is just really magical, and it's infectious. He's excited, I'm excited, and it's made me want to capture, these interesting characters of the garden. So we'll take some images now, I'll pop them on the screen, and then we're going to look for some interesting bugs within the garden and see how we can form a narrative with those.
smoke in the air, glows on our skin.
So the next subject I want to put some time and attention to before I return this macro lens is the bugs in the garden. You know, they play such a vital and important role in keeping a garden healthy. So we have these ladybirds, and they are obviously got lots of dew on the ivy and on these daffodils, which are just behind me. You know, really striking yellow vibrancy here. So I wanted to capture some images with these ladybirds, you know, forming more of a narrative, like I was talking before about the violets, you know, adding different characters within your intimate scenes to create life, to create a story, and to create interest. So we have the ivy, we have the daffodils here, and just off the back of our last chat, really, I just wanted to talk about how spending that time really does make a difference. And you'll see this in the the violets images that I've shared with you to start off with. They were kind of a bit basic, and then as I've taken the time to add components that are already there into my frame, it really has transformed that imagery, and I feel like it's leveling up. It's adding something much more painterly, much more dreamy, much more intimate, with a narrative, as I've said, which is sometimes the biggest challenge in our work. So I'm going to spend a bit of time with these beautiful ladybirds, and I'll pop those images on the screen for you now. And before this lens goes, let me know what you think. Do you like these images of the bugs within the garden? It's a bug's life. Do you think this is something I should pursue even more? Do you think the narrative fits? And do you have a macro lens yourself? I'd love to know in the comments.
Coffee in a paper cup. The engine starts right up. Clip myself into the middle seat. Daddy liked talk radio. On gravel he would drive real slow. He told me, let's go see what we could see. We pulled into the empty lot before the pavement got too hot underneath her leafy crown.
So I just wanted to finish on a bit of a chat, some updates, exciting news. So I do have a new job, and it's photography related. Some of you might know about it already, but I'm going to announce it in a future video, maybe in the next video. So I have a new job, which is great. It's photography related, which is, even better. Really grateful for this opportunity that I've got coming forwards. And just slowing down in nature and in your garden. I just wanted to share my perspective and experience, because I think it would be really quite useful for some of you. So in my previous occupation, it was very full on, very high demand, very fast paced. And I always said to myself, I will bear witness to spring. I'm going to go out and shoot the bluebells. And by the time the bluebells came out or were in full bloom, I was past it. And I was responding, quickly and under the pressure of here you need to get the light, you need to look for the right days to go, and it all felt like it just happened and was over in a weekend. And I think that's because my approach before was slightly more fast-paced and I had less time, whereas now I'm actually taking attention to nature. I want to see it appear as it develops, and I'm seeing all these pre-bluebell flowers, like the violet that's come out. Really beautiful, wonderful subject to photograph, and it just shows there is more to spring than your typical flowers as well, that I'm really enjoying learning about and sharing with you all as well. And whenever I finish a photo shoot at a location, I normally just sit and enjoy the environment I'm in, really soak it in, for those well-being benefits, for your mental health. And I'm spending a lot of time in the garden, as I said, with my son. I've got a butterfly which is just fluttering above me now, and the trees here are in full bloom, so you have a lot of the blossoms which are out, and there's bees that are bustling. So my cat is just here spending time with me, but the bees are bustling and pollinating, and it's so wonderful to see. And you have this brushing of pollen coming from this tree behind me, which I keep seeing almost like a desert haze, which is really stunning. And I just think this knee injury has actually been a complete blessing in disguise. It's forced me to slow down and be adaptive, but it's actually forced me to really see this change of season and all of its beauty, and share that with you guys. So stay tuned for more season updates and spring photography from my garden without a macro. We'll see how that goes. But thanks for all your support, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.
He would drive real slow. He told me, let's go see what we could see. We pulled into